Alright, welcome back. Again, Wapastem Tsikasun. My name is Whitehorse. And today we're learning all about waskwai and how to collect waskwai wapo. And I'm going to be taking you through the process of collecting the birch water to make birch syrup. So thanks for joining me today. Before we get started, of course, because we're going to be harvesting basically the life of the tree and taking some of its medicine from it, we've got to go through the proper protocol, staying true to Nihiawi and the Cree way of living. So we'll do that first. So first of all, I always do a tobacco offering before I take anything from any of our plants in the woods. So I'm going to show you that right now. So first off, when I do an offering, I usually put my hand on the tree and then I talk to it, the tree and our Creator, and give thanks for anything I'm getting from the land. And this just teaches us, of course, to appreciate the gifts that we get from Mother Earth and to show how we respect them. So I'll do that now. So you'll see I put my offering just at the base of the tree after talking with, giving thanks to Creator and to waskwai, the birch tree, for the medicine that I'm going to be collecting from it and for harvesting from it. Now, when we're collecting waskwai wapo, we're not killing the tree. Some people do accidentally kill the tree, mostly because they don't really understand how the trees work properly and everything, and they weren't given the proper teachings. So often you'll see people, when they're coming to tap the water from birch trees and even maple trees, any tree is the same. So if we're taking a drill and we're drilling into the tree, we're actually getting to the core of the tree, and we're actually probably going to kill that tree, because it's no different from poking a hole into one of your arteries or something in your body. Of course, all your lifeblood is going to flow out. Waskwai is no different. If we drill into it too deep, then all of its life is going to drain out of there, and it's probably not going to be able to heal quick enough before that tree dies. So Nihiawak, we often won't really drill into a tree. We don't like to do that. We like to cause as little damage as possible to the tree. So with this, in collecting the waskwai wapo, the birch water, we actually don't have to go very deep. We just have to get past those first two layers of the birch bark, because you've got the outer layer, which of course we call waskwai, which is the birch paper, and then we've got the inner bark, which is a darker color. After that inner bark, we get to the body of the tree. Now that's as far as we want to go. We want to go just a little bit into the meaty part of the tree, past the bark. We don't want to go any further than that, because we're going to risk killing that tree. And as long as we stay not too deep into the waskwai, it'll heal itself in time, and it's not going to kill the tree. It'll heal over just like a scar when we cut ourselves. And we could see here where there's an old mark here where somebody has collected waskwai wapo here, and you'll see the old cuts here, and how nicely that waskwai has healed itself and closed itself off. still keeping the tree alive and not taking away its life. So I'm going to show you this process right now and how we do this. So first of all, before you head into the bush to look for West White, a couple of things you need. Of course, you need your axe, and it's often good to have a hammer, because if you're just chopping with an axe, you're probably going to chop too deep and you're going to end up hurting the tree. So we want to make sure that we're able to tap into there, not really deep, but just enough so that we can get past those layers of bark and into the tree where the water flows. So the majority of the water flows between those two layers of bark and the tree itself. That's where the water really flows through throughout the tree. So that's as deep as we need to go. We don't need to drill deep into this tree, or otherwise, like I said, we're gonna end up killing this tree, and that's something we absolutely want to avoid. So again, when we're cutting, we don't want to be cutting at an angle like this. We want to actually be cutting up, because we want the water to kind of drip out and drip into whatever kind of vessel. Whatever kind of vessel you have will work. We use jars or butter containers or whatever you can gather to collect the water in. But of course, you'll see on this old one that once we make the cut, we actually need something here to guide the water into wherever it's going to drip. And this is an old one here. You'll see that whoever was tapping this tree put a little stick in there, flattened it out, and the water drips out here, and it drips into, or it sort of guides where the water is going to drip out of. Otherwise, if we just make a cut and leave it, it's just going to run down the tree. If we put a little stick there, it's going to run down that stick and into the container that we've got. So of course, before I make my cut, I'm going to grab a little stick here. And I actually want to make sure that I'm using a green stick, a green willow or something, when I put it in there, because if I use a dry one, then it's actually not going to guide the water so well. It's just going to soak up into that dry stick, and it's not going to drip right, because that dry stick will absorb the water. So I'm going to take it, and I'm just going to make it size of my hand. And I'm going to actually use two sticks here to show you two different ways. So again, another one about the size of my wrist. So with one of them, I'm going to actually make a little kind of a point in it. And you'll see why once after I make my cut into the tree. And on one side, I'm going to flatten it. So you'll see that I've got my point there, and I flattened it on one side. So that's one of my sticks. The other one, I'm actually just going to, again, not put a point on it, but kind of a angled cut on it. Just do it, just do an angled cut. And then with that one, I'm actually just going to, again, just not very deep, but where that bark was, just make a little flat part there. So I've made my little flat part there again here. This is just an angle, then I made a flat part, and then this one, I'm going to actually just make a little cut in there. So it's kind of, just so it's kind of split in there, but not cut all the way through. So that's the other stick I'm going to use. So I'll put those both there off to the side. Now I'm going to make my cut into the tree. So again, I'm going to be making a V, and I'm just going to mark it out here. So again, I'm going to make a cut here, and I'm looking at here because I've actually got a little natural kind of a drainage here. So I'm going to use that as my guide. Make my guiding marks there. So that's where I'm going to make my cuts. I'm going to cut here and here. So I have this V cut into the tree. So I'll just show you here. I'll make the first cut. And again, I'm not going too deep, but you'll see that it's sort of prying up there. That's what I want. I'm going to make my other cut on the other side going up, and you'll see the wasquaiwapu is already dripping out just after that first cut. So that's what we want. But now we've got to cut it so we can guide that water. So again, I'm going to cut sort of at an angle again, going up. Again, not too deep, but you'll see now how I have this little lip here. So that's where I'm going to actually build my guiding sticks. Now with a lot of people, what they'll do is with the one stick that I cut on the side here and flatten and sort of put this little opening here, you can actually put that, let me open that up just a bit more. Just so it fits over that bark. So you'll see how I've got that opened up there. And I'm just gonna put that in there like that. That will actually start to, the water will start to follow along that little flat part that I put in there, and the water will start to drip there shortly here. And sometimes it takes a little while for it to get started. But you can see here the method that I actually like to use is where my V is there in the bottom. I actually just sort of make a little bit of a, not too deep of a hole in there. Then I stick in there at an angle. And I'm just gonna tap that a little into that hole that I made. And the hole wasn't deep enough there. But the water is already coming out of there. So I'm just gonna make a little bit of a hole. Not too deep, because I don't want to hurt the tree. Alright. So there we go. Now I've got my stick there. And after a short while, that water should start to run down my stick, and I'll be able to guide it wherever it's going to start dripping into to catch it in my jar or whatever I have. Now with collecting wasquaiwapu, there is only a very short window when you can do it. So we usually go collect as soon as the frost comes out of the ground, and then you've got a very short window, because once the frost comes out, they will start producing the water. However, as soon as the trees are done budding and the leaves start to come out, they will stop giving water, because all of the water goes into the leaves. So almost well over 75% of the water that this tree collects from the ground goes up into the leaves. So once the leaves start producing, we're not going to be able to collect any water from this tree. So I'm just seeing here, this water is actually just running down the side, so I'm going to have to readjust my cuts here. once you do, we're actually getting it a little bit late right now because the leaves have started to come out. So we'll still get some water from them. But just over the past few days, they've been slowing down and dripping slower and slower. And it's been getting a little bit harder and harder to collect it. And with all of this, it takes some time and adjusting just to get it flowing just right. And with this, once it does start flowing, you usually have to leave it. We usually check, leave our container there under our stick there that's going to guide the wasquaya apple into there, and we'll leave that overnight, and we'll come check it each day and collect the water that we do get out of it. And usually if you leave it overnight, you'll usually have a full container by morning, but you have to tap a lot of these trees in order to collect enough water to make the birch syrup. Because even with the syrup, again, just like with the water that the leaves take in from the tree, the syrup itself, actually around 80% of it, maybe a little more, maybe 90% is water. And there's only 10% is actually the sweet syrup that we get out of it. So we'll show you the process of separating that later. For now, we just want to collect the water before we get that syrup. I could see here now that it's just starting to form a bead on my stick here, and it'll start dripping soon. But like I said, leave it overnight, collect it, and we're going to be collecting it for, usually collect it maybe 3 days, 4 days. Like I said, you got a short window before the leaves start getting too big and they start sucking up all the water. So we'll leave these here for the next maybe 2-3 days. Each day we'll come in, we'll empty our containers, put it into our jug for collecting, and then once we collect enough of the water, we'll continue the rest of the process. Yeah, so this one's starting to drip now, so you can see the process here. But like I said, you have to sort of do some adjustment here and wait a little while before it starts flowing good. And once it does, it's just gonna drip. It's not gonna start pouring out like a spout. It's just gonna drip, 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 and it'll take a while for it to fill up. Yeah, but you can see it dripping now. That's what we want. So what we've done is we'll actually go and we'll make a bunch of these, and we'll set them out beneath our birch trees. Again, with the same sort of process here, we're not harming the tree. We just want that water. We don't want to harm the tree. We don't want to kill the tree. We want to make sure that this tree is still going to heal and survive and continue living for many generations to come.